Hello, I'm Renee.
And I'm Emily.
And we are the Glimmer Hunters. This is a podcast dedicated to exploring all those little things that fill our cup in a glimmerful way. For today's podcast session, we're going to talk about why glimmers, why now, which is shorthand for what Emily also refers to as we are not meant to live like this.
Sounds lofty, heavy, but we will unpack that all today.
100%. But jumping in, which we thought it would be fun to do each podcast session, is share a very recent highlight glimmer that's popped out of the ether and into our mind's eye. Emily, would you like to hit me?
Okay, so on the weekend I was at a shopping centre, and for context, it's pre-Christmas period and it's hot. There's people everywhere. I mean, the shopping centre isn't that hot, but sometimes it is still hot in the shopping centre. I digress. And yeah, so I'm trying to find, I've been delegated 2 toys on the Christmas wish list.
Because you have 3.
I have 3 children.
3 children.
And so 2 of them have got this request for large Beanie Boos. And like, if you remember, Beanie Boos, even just a couple of years ago, even just last year, were everywhere. They were in every Christmas present, every birthday present the kids were getting. It was all about the Beanie Boos. And they were just Beanie Boos everywhere you looked. But now there's no Beanie Boos to be found anywhere. Like none. I have been to Kmart, Big W, Maya, DJs, kids stuff, all the shops. I've even been on the Beanie Boo website. There's no Beanie Boos anywhere. Even the random like newsagents, Daryl Lee, like they're just, I don't know what happened to Beanie Boos. I just almost need to do an investigation on what has become of Beanie Boos and why Beanie Boos, why now?
Yeah, why Beanie Boos, why now? Yeah, there's a documentary on Beanie Boos as well, just so you know, I watched it last year.
It's too triggering for me right now. But anyway, so I'm at the shops. It's Christmas time, so just I think the shops at Christmas is so overstimulating. You know, there's Christmas decorations hanging from everything. There's lights flashing. There's Santa photos, setups. I'm like going in and out of every different store. So every time I walk into one store, I'm getting like a Christmas carol. Then I go into another and it's another Christmas carol. And I'm like, there's so many people around. I'm smelling other people's BO. And I'm just like, I'm just not having a great time at the shops. And I'm stressed because I can't find these 2 toys that are on the Christmas wish list. And I'm like, oh, like what am I going to do? As I've told you before, like I take Christmas seriously. I'm like, I got to find these things.
I have dreams that have to be realised. Exactly. Small children are depending on this.
Right. No pressure. But
yeah.
Anyway, so amongst all of this, I just, and everyone's walking slowly in front of you when you're trying to get somewhere fast as well. But as it happened, I start walking behind a mother carrying a little baby, and it's like, I would say like between 6 and 8, 6, 7, 8 months. So, not out of that newborn stage, like big, cute cheeks, big, like the big chunky legs and arms. And they've clearly just been for their Santa photo. So all dressed up in a little, Christmas outfit. And this mum's just got her little baby over her shoulder and she's kissing his or her cheeks. And this little baby just starts laughing and smiling. And I just thought amongst all of this Christmas chaos, it's just one of those moments where it just makes your whole body just say, like as your baby's first Christmas, and just this beautiful sight of this beautiful child. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, and that parental pride as well, like getting my baby dressed up and get this photo. I've always wanted to do this.
Yeah.
Like the backstory into that as well.
I know. And it was just a really nice moment that kind of pulled me out of my this internal chaos I had entered into in the shopping centre. I was like, okay, let's take a step back. It's okay.
I'll buy a baby.
That'll solve this. Then I just have to buy more Beanie Boos for it.
I was thinking of stuffing its outfit with the beanies and turning it into the beanie.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's another option. Yeah, so that was just a really nice coming back to regulation in a state of dysregulation.
Yeah, totally. And especially that softness, because I can feel when you explain the little chubby cheeks and I can feel my lips on those little chubby cheeks.
My God.
And then your nose is all squished. Oh, it's the best feeling.
I know. And I think that I'm finally, now that I'm out, like my youngest is just graduated from preschool. So I'm finally like really well and truly out of that stage now. It's been a long time having 3 kids to get there. But now I can kind of look at other like little babies and be like, oh, I goo and gar myself over them. But when you're in it, you can't do that for a long time. So I think it was kind of that and it's a bit nice reminder of like, it's also like the passage of time and like the passing of time, and it's just, it was nice.
Yeah, it's like a multi-layered one.
Yeah, yeah, when you unpack it a bit.
Yeah, it's really memorable.
Definitely. How about yourself? Can you tell me about some of your recent glimmers or glimmer?
Yeah, I had a huge one, and it was so big that I made Isla tell it to me 2 or 3 times just so I could really bask in it.
Make sure I've got this.
Yeah, totally, because it's such a good one. And so we were living in Melbourne for the past 5 years, and then in June in 2024 this year, we sold the family home, moved up to Sydney. Isla started a new school. We also run our own business, so we moved offices as well, and then we've also started renovating this house.
It's been a big year
Yeah,
for you guys.
yawn, just
a big year.
yeah, all systems. And so settling our 10-year-old daughter Isla into a new primary school has gone as well as it could, but at the same time, you just hope and want for the best. And so and we're all in grief as well. My dad died earlier this year.
It's been a lot.
It's been a lot. Like it's just been a really heavy year, full of heavy gears. And then so settling Isla, because we've only got one. So it's all eyes on this one kid and no pressure. And so settling her into the new school and worrying about her and how she's feeling. So then on Friday, so it's the end of the school year, and the kids are, for whatever reason, she's in grade 5, they get sent to the grade 1-2 composite class to help out. And in Isla's words, I walk in and the teacher's yelling at them to watch YouTube to learn how to make a paper snowflake. So I assume it's one of those folds, trim, unfold things. And she said, and it's just mayhem. Like Isla's like, there's just kids going everywhere, there's scissors going everywhere, there's paper going everywhere. And there's 4 of these grade 5s have been farmed into this classroom to help out. So they say to the teacher, what should we do? And the teacher, a bit frazzled. And
as we all are this time of year.
Might loop back and maybe it's a Beanie Boo thing. And so she's like, just help. So Isla and her friends are, going around to each table, do you need any help? And everyone seemed to be fine except for one table with 2 little girls on it. And there was little Tilly, who was in grade 1, and then there was little Grace, who's in grade 2. And Grace is, in Isla's words, wildly cutting at this piece of paper and unfolding it, and it does not look like the YouTube clip. And little Tilly is sitting on the floor staring under the table. And then all the other kids are, walking around and standing and sitting. Tilly's the only one, and she's little and she's, under the table, staring under the table. And Isla says the first thing I say is, stand up, and helps her up. Little tiny toothpick legs, the visuals, oh my goodness. And then I was like, so what are we doing again? And so she kind of says that to the teacher, and the teacher sort of screeches at her, watch the YouTube clip. So
I totally get where that teacher's at though. It's like when you're just yelling at the kids not to yell. You're like, I've just lost, like we've all lost all grip on sanity.
Totally, because it's more effort to do a YouTube clip than to fold the piece of paper.
The symbolism of that.
Nothing says December quite like that.
Yeah.
And so then Isla gets Grace underway with the cutting, but meanwhile Tilly is still overwhelmed at the whole thing, and she keeps just sort of like a snowball melting to the floor. And Isla keeps helping her up. And then at one point Isla says, stand up, you're being stood on. Stand up, you're being stood on. And so Isla's there, and to stop Tilly from descending down again, Isla put sticky tape on all of her fingers, all 5 fingers, like 10 fingers. And she's like, oh, I've got sticky fingers. What's going on, Tilly? I've got sticky fingers. And she said Tilly stopped slinking to the floor and looked and said, that's because you've got sticky tape on all of your fingers. Isla? And I was like, how did you know your name? And she said, oh, I think the teacher said these are the 4 helpers. And I said, she remembered it straight away. She said, well, yeah, she must have. And it was just like, I'm so worried about my kid fitting in and being accepted. I had underestimated, like, not only like she's doing it for other little kids.
Yes, that's incredible.
Oh, stand up, Tilly.
I know.
Stand up. You're being stood on.
And like, again, you think about layers of a glimmer as well, because there's the layer of like, you've done good, like as a parent, like that's really nice when they go out in the world and they do these beautiful things without having to be instructed. I think that's like, I feel like that's such a positive sign. You've done something right,
Yeah.
And then it's just the thought of like Isla helping this other little girl, like
Oh,
it's
and
just so
staring
beautiful.
under the table.
Yeah. And her not giving up on it as well, and like her creativity and coming up with a way to get her out of that space. It's just, it's so beautiful.
Yeah. And it's so magical as well to watch your own child go from child into mentor capacity, because, if I had it my way, she would just be two.
Forever.
Well, secretly she is two in my mind.
Yeah.
Certainly when she's asleep with the cheeks. But yeah, like watching them blossom. So that's
quite spectacular.
Yeah, it was awesome. That's why I made her tell it to me over and over again.
Locked in that memory bank now.
Yeah.
The Glimmer treasure chest, the vault. Lock it up.
Yep, in the cave.
Love it. Nice. And so we thought it might be nice as well to share some of the glimmers that we have been sent, being glimmer hunters and also glimmer collectors, I would say as well. Yeah, we're all about, we want all the glimmers. So please always feel free to send them into us. Find us on Instagram at Glimmer Hunters. But let's jump into one that we got this week. I'll just read it out to you. So it says, my glimmer yesterday was a coffee with 3 shots in my favourite cup after a night of 0 sleep. Now, if that's not a relatable glimmer, I don't know what is.
And 3 shots.
I know.
That is
not mucking around.
No, I don't. That's a special morning.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
glorious.
I know. And I think like I relate to this one a lot because I know that, it's so chuggy and millennial to like coffee or talk about coffee and be obsessed with coffee. However, I will argue that when that caffeine kicks in, I just feel like I'm so hopeful. My whole faith in the day has been restored. Like anything can happen at that point. The day is full of possibilities again when that caffeine hits my brain.
Optimism.
Right? I think that's the thing. I feel like it's a universal glimmer. I think coffee, well, for me and I know for a lot of people, but I think, it's just it's a fail safe. Like it just always works.
Yeah, it's a beautiful ritual. It's like a small meal if you get full cream milk. And it's also, it punctuates the morning as well. Like it's that breath of air between getting up, rush to get everything done. You get to work and then you have coffee and it's that micro break.
Yep, and something to look forward to if you're having a second coffee as well.
100%. I love that. And also love that it was in her favourite cup.
I know, even better.
Yeah.
Because the cup makes such a difference to the experience as well, right?
100%. And in the great move north, which was like leaving a war zone in the end, I got rid of pretty much everything. So we've got 4 coffee mugs left. Actually, no, we've got other coffee mugs left that can't go in a microwave. So while we're renovating, we're renting a place. So I just shipped the coffee mugs that can't go in the microwave. They're just stayed boxed. And I've got 4 coffee mugs and they're all exactly the same. So I feel like I miss the favourite cups.
That is nice. And also like after no sleep as well, it's just like bring you back to life.
Yeah. Go again. Yeah. And hope you exhaust yourself so much that you get some sleep
the
tonight.
Next night, for sure. Cool. Alrighty. Well, let's talk about the cultural phenomenon of glimmers. So there's some wild stats going on out there, especially on TikTok. So one of the stats we've come across is that there's 27 million posts dedicated to glimmers on TikTok. And across like Instagram and Facebook, there's like tens of thousands as well. Like people are really connecting with the idea. And I think it might be interesting just to discuss our thoughts on that. Like why now? Like why at this particular point in time? Because the term was coined in 2018, as we know, by Deb Dana. But, now it's now 2024, 2023. I think between 2023 and 2024 is where it's really started going, viral. So I think it might just be fun to explore why we think that is.
Yeah, 100%. And as a bit of a sideways around that, I have this theory that because there's pop culture and people deride pop culture, it's not cool to like pop culture, but pop culture is just short for popular culture. So everything starts in the ether in subculture. Well, it starts as an individual unit and then 2 people meet and then 3 people meet. Community turns into a subculture and then it reaches mass swell and then groups start to connect up and it pops into pop culture, it pops into the mainstream ether. So it must, tracking from 2018 until now is all of those groups were out on their own, like it had a following, but they were in subculture. And now it's popped to the fore. And no doubt it must be because it's groundswell across multiple groups that there's been an impetus for this.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's just the part of like, why is it striking such a chord right now? I think that's what I have been wondering a little bit about now. And, you know, I think part of it is like living in kind of dark times. There's a bit of a chaotic world out there. And I think perhaps it is, you know, just something light and accessible to cling on to for people. This other theory I want to tell you about.
Oh, yes, please.
It's a bit of a wild ride, so I'm just going to have to get you to come along with me.
100%. And what's great about it is it's not just the dark, because I get what you mean that glimmer hunting comes out of definitely the darkness, you need it. But what you're about to explain which is that we are not meant to live like this concept. It's almost more sinister because it's not the dark side, it's the grey side.
Yeah.
So it's hard to push against the grey side.
Okay, so this is a term called evolutionary mismatch. It's a phenomenon whereby physical or psychological traits that were once advantageous to our evolution become maladaptive with environmental changes, especially when the change happens rapidly. So it's like the culture evolves so quickly or something within the culture changes so quickly that our biology and psychology can't keep up with it.
And in a more like raw primal sense, like a woolly mammoth being sent to the Sahara desert.
Yeah, exactly.
Like overnight, express post.
They're not going to cope well.
Yeah.
Right?
And so too soon.
Exactly.
Haven't even shaved.
Yeah. Can't do this.
Seem to be wearing a fur coat in the desert.
And now my hair's all frizzy. So I think that so the classic example of this that comes up a lot when it's talked about is our food intake, and especially, so back in the caveman days, we were hunters and gatherers, and so we'd high-calorie foods or sweet foods weren't readily accessible. I can't say the word.
You can. Accessible.
Accessible. And so, we were primed to be on the lookout for them when we could. So that's where we got this sweet tooth from, because when we had the opportunity to seek it out, we had to really go for it, because who knew when we were going to get a chance to get that kind of food again. But now we have this sweet tooth, but we live in an environment where we have all these high-calorie foods readily accessible, and we can get them whenever we want. And so we eat them because we have this sweet tooth. We eat so much of that food, but it's causing us problems like diabetes, heart disease, tooth decay. And so, it's become now maladaptive for our environment, a sweet tooth that used to, back in the day, help us survive. So the technological advancements that we've had, so they've evolved like much faster than our environment. And I think a lot of us just aren't coping with it. So when you think about like the mental health issues that we've got going on, a lot of which stem from so many different things. But I think, if I just look at the stats even on that, 1 in every 8 people, or 970 million people globally, are living with a mental health condition, with anxiety and depression being the most common, right? So lots of us aren't coping. But I'm tying it back. It's coming back around. But so a theory that my husband and I, Brendan, have been talking about is that we're not meant to live like this. So again, think about the way we communicate now with text messages, email, group chat. Like I've written an article about how much group chat gives me anxiety. I just can't cope with it. And so we just joke about the fact that I'm no anthropologist, but I imagine we did not evolve to communicate like this. Like we're, meant to be sitting around the fire, talking to each other. Like you're not getting those social cues. You're not getting that tone of voice, all that kind of stuff, I think, which is what contributes to the anxiety. But if we go down like a list of examples I've got about why we are not meant to live like this. So think about, again, the way we work these days and our productivity-obsessed culture where all we really do is work. Again, we were not meant to work like this. We were meant to be, again, hunters and gatherers that would have really intense periods of working when we had to like hunt the beast or do whatever we had to do. And then after that, it was just relax again. Just we weren't supposed to be like go, 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 go. Like and I think when we talk about like nervous system regulation, so our nervous systems were primed to like be on the run when we had to be. But after that, there were long periods of just rest and relaxation. So, that's one of them. And then another one is, we're not meant to spend this much time at desk, sitting down, working. We're meant to be outside, walking around. And then think about social media these days and like how many people you're connected with online. Like we're not meant to have that many social connections in life. Again, going back to the tribe, it's like 100 people that you would have been connected to, but now we've got like thousands of people in our pockets all the time, like influencers, like random things that we know about celebrities and people online. Like we were never meant to have that much access to that many other people.
Well, that many other quasi people.
Right.
Because all we have is this 2D expression, which is the interface, and then the rest, our brain just fills in the gaps.
Makes up a story.
Yeah, makes up a story and holds a knife to our own neck with which way that story is going to go.
Yeah.
Like it's like Caesar. But going back to the communications, I think about this, like the phone was invented, Yahoo, and then so you could ring each other from house to house. And then if you tried to ring someone else while they were on the phone, they got the engage signal.
Yes.
Then
I forgot about that.
Beep, beep, and that was it. And if the phone was left off the hook, someone would have to drive around and say you've left the phone off the hook. And then we went from engaged to engaged and or this kind of happened. Well, and then we it would ring out if you weren't home. Then we got message bank or a message machine. Then we got call waiting, so no more engaged. You could divert between the calls. Then we went to mobile and we got caller ID. Then we went to no caller ID because people want it. So everything is about stop, go, stop, go. Like people can get you. No, they can't. It's engaged. People can leave a message. People can interrupt your call. You can see who's calling. No, you can't see who's calling. And then there's text message and WhatsApp and email and direct message, which is it's this relentless pursuit of constantly being available and then constantly working out ways to be unavailable politely.
Yeah. It's the whole thing with the whole email, like you can be reachable all the time as well with work. Like you can't actually, they brought new laws in, like I think in France and places like that about you can't contact people after hours because we're just, again, not meant to be this contactable.
Yeah. We're not this shareable.
No.
And it's driven like commercially and also like with the laws with the government. And I just think about like having children at school and the events. Like and the road to hell is I'm not a religious person, but in the Bible I think it is the road to hell is paved with good intentions. But even, the school disco that's like Parisian themed that they're going to order a Croquembouche and I'm like, oh my God, she's 10, like they're 10, that you could just put the radio on and call it a disco.
And give them some Zupa Dupas.
Yeah, exactly. Like it doesn't have to be this complicated, but it's earnest and it's loving, but we're not meant to live like this. Like I don't want Isla to peak at 10.
Yeah. But I think it's that, but it's also the constant overscheduling as well. Like we have 3 kids, like they're all doing extracurricular activities and every afternoon it's just like bang, 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 bang around town. Again, like that's by choice, like we don't have to do that. But it's just, I think it just becomes a cultural norm though as well. It's normalised like that the kids do, after school activities and then, there's this expectation. So it's not also just as simple as like, well, don't do it. Like,
no, it's not just as simple as don't do it. I agree because one is we're raising children in a community, so you need to. But also like I have nothing, like when it comes to Isla's birthday, I can get a bit crazy. Like if I want to use my daughter's birthday parties to heal my soul, that's my business. She will be the victim of that spoiling. So it's unicorn cupcakes and it's all bets are off. It's reptiles in the house, like whatever the show is, it's life goes on, like in a fun way. Like I love that. And so I'm not meaning to shame any other parent that doesn't want to go all out. It's not like that. If it lights you up, have at it.
Oh, for sure.
If you want to serve Zupa Dupas in the shape of a cake and call that, I'm so down with that. But do it from your heart. But this constant, relentless, it almost feels one-uppery.
Yeah.
But then when it's my kid as collateral damage, that's when I get really involved. Because then I'm like, then I've forgotten pizza day and the $2 and the da-da-da-da and the.
I know. I think the kids, like 1 year, their last week of school, again, talking about the Christmas period, like chaotic enough as it is, and then they did this, every day was a different dress up day in that last week. It was like one day was like come as your favourite sports team, then it was like wear fluoro colours, then it was like
this is madness.
Right? Then it was like
wear your school uniform for 5 days straight.
And every day it's like what are we supposed to be wearing today? What are we doing? And then it's like then it's Christmas colours and then it's like why are we doing this to ourselves? Like,
yeah, like easy.
Again, and we wonder why our we've all running around in a state of dysregulation all the time. But then I think as well about the 24-hour news cycle.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that is wild when you stop and think about it. Like, again, we're not meant to be exposed to that much trauma like that often. And I think about my grandmother was telling me, like she was alive when World War II was going on. But she was saying like in Australia, like they knew it was happening because certain grocery items you couldn't get, like certain staples would be out. So that was kind of your sort of visual cues in a daily, space that was happening. But she's like, we weren't getting fed these like just constant streams of like updates and updates. And because she was talking about that in the context to when COVID was happening. And it's just, we were living in it. But then every time you turned on the news or opened your phone, it was just
you're all gonna die. You're all gonna die. After the break, we talk about the weather in the Gold Coast.
Even the like the music though, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's
so shammy because if you turn your back on the news, then you've got the guilt of I'm not keeping aware and I'm not helping change.
Yeah.
But just in case anyone's ever wondered about this, the news never has a call to action at the end of the segment going, if you disagree on people's rights being destroyed, then contact this phone number or write to your candidate, number on the screen.
Yeah.
So it's just this, and like I get it, you and I have worked in the media together and stuff, we understand it, like you got to sell ads. It's cool, like totally down with it. But the upshot is, or the downshot is that music, it's like the smell of fire smoke.
Yeah.
Like it hits you primarily and then you got all wound up. And then sometimes you don't know, you're at home and you're cooking dinner, so there's like the simmer on the stove and then someone leaves or two people leave two TVs on at once and boom, 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 boom is going in the background.
Yeah, I can't deal with that. I can't deal with it. Yeah.
Yeah. And then
sensory
little
overload. Yeah.
cogs are flying out of my ears.
Yeah.
And then you go from 0 to 100, storming around the house, yelling, we're not meant to live like this.
Yeah, I think that's where all the overstimulation comes from though. Like we're just not meant to live like this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just on that, the music for the news. My husband talks about when he was a little kid being really scared of the 60 Minutes music. You see that clock going and he just always just run to his bedroom.
Oh my God. Totally. And when we were younger, because Brendan's a bit younger than me, but I remember 60 Minutes as well in the 80s.
Yeah.
And they used to like go into the jungles to talk to like the guerrilla terrorists and stuff. And the way they made out like, grab your ankles and kiss your ass goodbye. Like it was, this was our last year on the planet.
Full on.
So full on.
Yeah.
Yeah, my God, that has a lot to answer for. Having said that, I did catch an episode of A Current Affair by accident recently, and I don't think I've seen it for some time. And it's cheeky. It's a cheeky little show.
Oh, yeah.
But it's good to have a massive break from news.
Yeah, totally.
Bum, 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 bum.
Even that. I know. And so once you start thinking about this idea, like we're not meant to live like this, I think it starts coming up all the time. You start noticing it because, obviously you just get conditioned into an environment and then you just, you're in it, so you're just rolling with it. But then when you start to think about this, I start noticing it everywhere.
That's the precursor to becoming a glimmer hunter.
Yes.
Because that's the second before, I think it's the second because you're like, hang about, nah.
Yeah.
And not this. And so then you start questioning and then you're like, what am I pedaling so hard for?
Yeah.
Like, what am I rushing for? Like, where am I going?
And we're all rushing all the time.
Rushing. Fast as you can.
Yeah, all the time.
I watch Chris, my husband, clean the house. He's like a man possessed. There's nothing planned after this. Like,
where's the fire?
Where is the fire?
Yeah.
Easy. Like when the waiter takes your order and there's three of you and you order a drink and they go and you're like, no, and then the second person orders and they go and I'm like,
I know.
Easy.
Yeah.
Do it all at once.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I know. As the thing, like, yeah, it's yeah. I think it's just, I like to think of it as dysregulation just normalized in our culture. Cultural, dysregulation normalized.
Yes.
And that's when I think, this is what I'm tapping into, is I think that when you come across glimmers and it's such a simple idea, but I do wonder if it like gives us a bodily feeling of how we are meant to live, perhaps.
Like a primal calling to the past or future or to the now.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's a calling to being in a more regulated state, you know.
And so dysregulated is feeling a bit out of control and wonky and tense, flight or fright.
Yes.
And regulated is the ventral nerve or the parasympathetic nerve, rest and digest.
Yep, exactly.
I'm okay.
Yes, safety.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're feeling cues of safety when you're regulated.
Yeah.
And that's what I think glimmers are, those cues of safety that bring you back to regulation, whereas a trigger is like cues of danger, high alert, watch out, that kind of thing.
And is that with the regulation and dysregulation, is that also the same phrase as emotionally regulating? Like is it that or is maybe?
Honestly, I'm not sure. I think there's a lot of talk about emotional regulation. I think that's a bit of a bigger picture. I'm just talking about nervous system regulation.
Yes, got you. I think if I was to take a guess at the hierarchy, I suspect the central nervous system feels the regulation first, and then the conscious brain kicks off and reacts or responds by tantrum, striking out, yelling, that kind of thing, like the aftershock of the flare-up, which is emotional dysregulation, which is the lashing out.
Yeah, I mean, imagine they're all kind of they intertwine, I would imagine. Like
they're all double agents.
Yeah, they're all just layers of like crossover. But I think the takeaway is, that I think we're just all walking around completely dysregulated for most of the time.
Little bloody strung out.
Yeah. And so when I think about then glimmers, like I know I don't know, it might sound like a little bit of a lofty idea, but like is it either what I was just saying before, is it like a bodily feeling of how we are meant to live, or is it a cues of ideas of how we cope with the environment that we now have? Are they like little signposts for coping mechanisms?
One and the same, because the human spirit wants to live. And that's how I know we're all going to be fine, just by the by. Humans want to live.
Good to know.
Yeah, that, and have you ever seen so many yoga studios in your life? We're going to be fine.
Yeah.
Just fine. But also, I think both, like to your point, I think both are accurate. And also I think with glimmers, it's the antidote, because not only are we being we're susceptible to being tense on cue, we're also socially conditioned, expected to take 1 or 2 weeks off a year and go and relax on a holiday together that you've pre-booked
and paid all this money for, and that's your time, so you better enjoy it.
Yeah, and
the pressure's on.
Kids are off school, so you're paying peak prices, and then you've got 2 weeks to relax or 1 week to relax, and you can't relax on cue.
No, it takes days. It takes like majority of the holiday to start to relax, and then you're only just getting into that mode, and then most of the time it's time to go home again.
Yeah. Whereas glimmers is letting, I kind of feel like it's maybe letting a bit of air out of the tires as she goes. So regulation as opposed to curing.
Yeah. And I think as well, it's like this complex world that we now find ourselves living in. It's just something that's really simple that we can, hold on to. It's like a way of like, I don't know, simplifying. I think because we've talked about as well, like sometimes the idea of a glimmer, to explain it can be kind of confusing. But then, I don't know, it's just like a nice idea of simplicity, like just follow that good feeling, whatever that is for you, like hold on to that feeling. It's a really simple idea in the face of this complex world that we're in now.
Yeah. And sometimes I see, this might be a bit meta, but I don't know if I overly know what that word means, but feels like it's Inception kind of back on itself, is finding glimmers and letting them land is one thing. And then there's the benefit of them, which kind of happens at the same time. And then if you notice you're not having any, it's this great marker point to be like, am I too wound up? Like a glimmer's going to get you no matter what. Like, glimmers will, you will feel the sunshine on your face, and before you have a split second to be cross about it, it will just bring you instant spontaneous joy. Yeah. But that's also a great marker. That's what I really like about glimmer hunting as well, is it's a constant reminder, like, am I getting the most out of this? Because you can't overly engineer a glimmer. You can a little bit, but it's not guaranteed. It just helps you bring you back to the present moment. And that's also what I love about glimmer hunting, is it brings in, the power of now, like being present, because you have to feel it, you have to let it land. The body lives in the present. It can't live in the past and the future. So then the central nervous system is a part of that physicality, which helps slow the brain down, because the brain's going in 3 different directions. It's like a photocopier at Christmas, photocopying its own tush over and over and over again. Very important. I'm very busy right now. I need more paper in tray 3. I think so. Going right back to the point of why glimmers, why now? Why not now? If not now, when?
I know. Send help. Send the glimmers. I know, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think as well, I also have this secret hippie theory that we all complained 5 years ago, that we got to fever pitch of complaining up until about 5 years ago, that we're all really busy, we're all really busy, there's too much to do. And then the universe or Earth were like, I know, how about an international pandemic? You all want some time? Off to your bedrooms.
Stay home.
Yeah, stay home. Lock the doors tight.
Yeah, you were in Melbourne. You know all about it.
Yeah. Yep, my 2 year at home, which was secretly lovely because, and then we all got to switch off and slow down. No accident that people started making sourdough. People started putting teddies in windows.
Yes.
And so we would go on these walks because we had a 5K radius and we had a curfew and a 5K radius.
Yes, and think about look back on that time. It's almost like too soon to talk about still, time has passed, but there were a lot of glimmers during that time. Like it was awful, but there were those moments of we would go for a morning walk as a family and just get outside together, which was beautiful, just to get out in the sunshine for a, walk around the block. Like the teddies in the windows. Remember the clapping the nurses oh my God.
My God, that's
Right?
it makes me want to cry. That and the even either was 6, 7, 8, 9 or however old, birthday parties happening on Zoom. And so one parent would deliver a single cupcake to everyone's front door with a candle so all the kids could jump online and do the candle together.
Yes.
So beautiful and so small and simple.
Yeah, and like some of our kids' friends were dropping off little artworks that they'd made for them just as little gifts and stuff, leaving it on the doorstep that we'd come home to, or that's really lovely.
You sent us a care package?
Yes, you sent us a care package as well. I think we were all sending care packages.
Yeah.
What else did we have to do?
It's like a war without the war.
Homeschooling our kids. Oh, yeah.
Okay, well that wasn't a glimmer.
That was very triggering.
Except for Isla, she loves the Zoom call. So she was just front and center
loving it.
Go, camera on.
Yeah.
But I got lucky. You just roll the dice. You don't know.
It,
you get, in the words of small children, you get what you get and you don't get upset.
That's it.
That's the daycare mantra.
Yeah. I know. I actually say it at home all the time.
Still, same.
Yeah. So I guess we just think about this using glimmers as a coping mechanism, because again, I think if we think about during that COVID time, I think that we were really holding on to those small glimmers of the things that we were doing for other people, or those, tiny moments where we could get outside, or we could, send something to somebody, get on a Zoom call. They were our coping glimmers to get through that time.
Yes, and we had to dig deep.
We did. And I think about the example we had at the start of the episode about the coffee glimmers getting you through, coping mechanism when you haven't had any sleep. So I like the idea of thinking about our coping glimmers. So perhaps if people would like to send in any coping glimmers that they've had recently.
Yeah, your triple shot coffees.
Yeah, I'd love to know about that.
Your coping glimmers. What, do you have any offhand? I'll have to think of my coping glimmers.
I'm definitely a special for coffee as a coping glimmer, for sure.
Nothing springs to mind that's overly healthy to share. But one of my, each to their own with the judgment.
Oh, yeah.
But coping glimmer is, I've got this double-headed glimmer, but if I can watch on my own, like a Real Housewives episode in Silencio on the big TV.
Oh, for sure.
Oh my gosh, that is a cope. For the next 42 minutes, I get to pretend to have the Bentley and the private jet. And it's just private, and I know it's deranged, I know it's not real, but that's between me and the glimmer.
Exactly. No one else needs to know.
No one else needs to know. It's a 42-minute glimmer. I mean, of course, it's layered in with the guilt and stuff. But then the micro glimmer on top of that is I have an Apple Watch and I get the little ping when a new episode's available, and that gives me a micro glimmer, like that's in the can.
Yeah, I've got that to look forward to later.
That's between me and the big screen.
Yep.
I've just got to get my housemates, husband and daughter, out of the house.
And then it's all yours. I think about sometimes solo swims for me, like when I can go to the beach, because when I take all the kids to the beach, it's quite, as you imagine, the circus. But then I have to be on high alert with them, like watching them. I can't take my eyes off them. And so it's like I love swimming. I love going to the beach and stuff, but it becomes this stressful thing to do. But then some days I'll just go down by myself for a quick swim, and it's just like I don't have to worry about anything else. I don't have to take the whole big bag of everything. It's just like just got a towel. I'm just going to run in, jump out, and I just don't have to worry about it as much. So it's a really relaxing way to do it. Again, isn't that funny? Both of us doing things by ourselves.
Which is coping.
Yeah.
Because being like a mum or a partner or a wife or in business and stuff, having clients, having people depend on you, it's exhausting. It's lovely. Community is lovely. But to be on your own, that's a total coping. That's when, emotion, like metaphorically, I'm saying, Renee is not here right now.
Yeah,
Please leave a message after the tone.
Off duty. Yeah.
There is no tone.
Yeah.
Renee has checked out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the coping.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's lovely though because yours gets in your body with swimming. I think that's super healthy. And I think the crafting or the creating, like I was thinking about the sourdough during lockdown, like that kneading.
Doing something with your hands. Yeah. Yeah.
Gorgeous. So yeah, if you can send in, if you have any coping go-to strategies, they could be swimming in Mother Earth's ocean or watching Real Housewives.
Whatever takes your fancy. You can't get glimmers wrong.
No, exactly. And that's a part of the coping as well. Yeah. And you know when they've worked because you feel like you can fight another day.
Exactly. Yeah. Nice.
Well, thank you for listening to today's session on Why Glimmers, Why Now? Or as I like to say, as Emily calls it, we are not meant to live like this.